Brad Pitt was seen as the heartthrob of Hollywood, and maybe still to this day, many still see him as their dream man. However, many people have actually spoken up against the actor as things on camera do not always align with how they are behind the scenes. That's right, today we are going to be discussing our top 10 celebrities that warned us about Brad Pitt. And if you don't know me already, I'm Melanie with InformOverload, and before we begin, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And for number 10, we have Pax Jolie Pitt. Pax is the second oldest of the 6 kids the two once shared, who was born in Vietnam in 2003 and adopted by Angelina in 2007, with Brad formally adopting him a year after Angelina. He had always been seen by his mom's side, shopping with her, and even attending red carpet events with her. Well, just recently, he has made headlines after a 2020 Instagram story that was allegedly private had resurfaced and went viral. For Father's Day, he wrote, "Happy Father's Day to this world-class a-hole. You time and time again prove yourself to be a terrible and despicable person. You have no consideration or empathy towards your 4 youngest children who tremble in fear when in your presence. You will never understand the damage you've done to my family because you are incapable of doing so. You have made the lives of those closest to me a constant hell, and you may tell yourself and the world whatever you want, but the truth will come to light someday. So happy Father's Day, you effing awful human being." It's also worth mentioning that their oldest daughter, Zara, who was also adopted by Angelina in 2005, has recently dropped Pitt from her last name when she joined the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority of Spelman College also this month. And for number 9, we have Courtney Love. This singer, who was married to Kurt Cobain before his unfortunate passing in 1994, has publicly discussed her feelings about Brad Pitt. Her late husband was the lead singer, guitarist, and even songwriter for the band Nirvana, and during an appearance on the podcast WTF with Mark Maron, it was revealed she was lined up to play Marla Singer in the 1999 cult classic Fight Club, but she was removed from the project after a drama with Brad Pitt, who was cast as Tyler Durden. And the drama was surrounding her late husband, as Brad wanted to play Kurt in a proposed biopic, but Courtney believed he didn't have the right credentials. She said, "Who the F do you think you are? I don't know if I trust you, and I don't know that your movies are for profit. They're really good social justice movies, but if you don't get me, you kind of don't get Kurt. And I don't feel like you do, Brad," which is apparently what she said during her conversation with the actor, and she did admit how she wishes she kept her thoughts in her mind and waited until the filming for Fight Club had wrapped up. And for number 8, we have Mike Tyson. In the late 1980s, the boxing champion himself caught his estranged wife, Robin Givens, in bed with Brad Pitt himself. During a conversation on In Depth with Graham Bessinger, Mike recalled how he got mad as hell after discovering the lesser-known Brad at the time doing some bedroom activities with his wife. He was actually going to his lawyer's office to divorce her that day, but claims he wanted to sneak in a little quickie. And he would go to her house every day to do some activities with her, but on one day, specifically, someone beat him to it. He also described Brad as physically different than what many of us may picture today, as he said he looked a little bit like a beach bum and a little nerdy. And at number 7, we have Bethenny Frankel. The Real Housewives of New York City star threw shade at Brad after talking on an episode of her own podcast titled Just Be with Bethenny Frankel. And that is where she discussed the new line of skincare the actor released, specifically Brad Pitt and Jared Leto. She talked about how all of a sudden all these men are fascinated with skincare before poking fun at the 2 actors, asking if they would do a Get Ready With Me video with those pink headbands. She told the men to take a break from skincare as it's a reach. And for number 6, we have Donald Trump. I feel like there hasn't been anyone this former US president hasn't spoken up about, and this doesn't exclude Brad Pitt. When Brad was accepting the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad actually gave a speech that referenced the then recent decision by the Senate to prevent National Security Advisor Bolton from giving his testimony in Trump's impeachment trial. If you're wondering what Brad said, well, he stated, "They told me I have only 45 seconds up here, which is 45 seconds more than the Senate gave John Bolton this week. I'm thinking maybe Quentin Tarantino does a movie about it. In the end, the adults do the right thing." And Trump, of course, couldn't hold back his thoughts, so during a rally in Colorado, he said, "And then you have Brad Pitt. I was never a big fan of his. He got up and said a little wise guy thing. He's a little wise guy." And for number 5, we have Harrison Ford. The actor who is in the iconic Star Wars franchise worked alongside Brad Brad for a 1997 thriller movie titled The Devil's Own. Even though it was a success at the box office, it wasn't so successful behind the screen. Following the film's release, Harrison called the shooting process tough and even described it as the most irresponsible bit of filmmaking, if you can even call it that he's ever seen. The reason why was because the two actors had a conflict about the script because Brad had a complicated character and Harrison wanted a little bit of complication on his side too. So it wasn't a traditional good and evil battle. So he came up with the bad shooting and the two had different ideas about it. Harrison wanted to stay with his point of view, or he was imposing his point of view, and that's what Brad felt before adding it was just complicated. And for number 4, we have Kirsten Dunst. As you may know, once upon a time, Brad was seen as the Hollywood heartthrob, so you would only assume being casted as a character who gets to kiss him as a dream come true, right? Well, not for Kirsten, who worked with Brad on the film Interview with the Vampire. At the time of filming, Brad was 31 and Kirsten was 11 years old. Not only was this her first on-screen kiss, but it was her first kiss in general. In an interview with Bullet magazine, she recalls everyone telling her how lucky she is to get to kiss Brad Pitt, but in reality, she thought it was disgusting and even has opened up about entering rehab to deal with the fact she has been working since she was a child in a very people-pleasing environment. And at number 3, we have Jennifer Aniston. Before there was Brangelina, there was love between the friend star and Brad. Although it seems the two are on good terms in recent years, in the past they have definitely had some very public feelings about each other after he left Jennifer for Angelina. Well, actually, while he was still married to Jennifer, there were rumors about him cheating and dating Angelina. Once the two had a very public split, Jennifer was left with many feelings of grief while constantly seeing her ex and his new girlfriend all over the front pages of magazines. She admitted she would put his needs before her own sometimes, and he apparently checked out of their marriage as soon as he began working on set with Angelina, and during this time was around the same time the sitcom Friends was coming to an end, as Jennifer explained it as bad timing, as she had to say goodbye to her co-stars, and of course her then husband wasn't there for her. He didn't even go to the final taping of Friends. And years went by until Brad actually apologized to Jennifer shortly after his 2016 divorce from Angelina. In 2017, a source told Mirror UK that he apologized for everything he put Jennifer through and for being an absent husband, who was not always in the right state of mind and bored pretty much all the time. There was also rumors he left Jennifer because she was unable to have kids with him, which she debunked in the past. And in our second spot, we have Justin Theroux. This actor and Brad had something in common, which was once being married to Jennifer Aniston. In 2016, he shared a piece of artwork by graffiti artist Nick Flat to express his thoughts on the impending presidential election battle. The art featured words reading F war, F imperialism, and with the most notable one reading F Brad Pitt. And this of course was when he was married to Jennifer, and we discussed just some of the tension between the former couple, as it was infamously known that Brad left Jennifer for Angelina. Although there was an obvious connection there, Justin insisted in the caption he wasn't throwing shade at anyone, as he wrote, "And no, this post is not shading anyone because I'm not 11 years old." But obviously not everyone was convinced. And of course, for our number 1 spot, we have Angelina Jolie. Of course she is on this list, as the two first fell in love while on set of the 2005 movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith. In a 2016 report filed by the FBI, Angelina claimed Brad yelled at her before pulling her into a toilet. And at the time the two were still married, and if the toilet wasn't enough, he pushed her into the wall and punched the ceiling repeatedly. Apparently one of the kids tried to protect their mother, but Brad allegedly choked one and struck the other in the face. The same report also said he then poured beer on his family while they were trying to sleep. And of course the two got divorced, but it was apparently following an incident that occurred on the couple's private jet the same year. According to Angelina in a report, she accused then husband Brad Pitt of physically harming her on a plane as the family returned to California after a trip. Allegedly, Brad led Angelina to the back of the plane where he grabbed her by the head and shoulders and even shook her while yelling at her for, in his words, effing up this family. And she hasn't actually been too public about her thoughts, as she rarely discusses her divorce, but in a 2020 interview with Vogue, she did reveal she filed for divorce for the well-being of her 6 children, before stating, "It was the right decision. I continue to focus on their healing." Well, we have reached it to the end of today's video, and I would love to hear all your thoughts on Brad Pitt in general, and which celebrity on this list shocked you the most. Before you leave, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be sure to see you next time. Bye bye.